Rich Barton is back and doing it again, Mike. I mean, it's not so much the results. It's really what he's saying that, by the end of 2025, we expect to have $5 billion in annual revenue and a 45% EBITDA margin. So the savior who came back in 2019, who righted the ship, obviously took a reputational hit once we went through the whole iBuyer mess. That's starting to get cleaned up. They actually technically missed on Premier Agent, both in the quarter and in the outlook, but they flashed a 45.5% EBITDA margin in their IMT, their Internet Media and Tech segments, both for this quarter and in the out quarters, proving that they can have sustainable profitability here. So, if you want to talk about the housing super app that's now coming, their limited market share currently, and the huge TAM that they're addressing, I think those are the things that are probably driving the stock. And frankly, we never thought the stock should have traded as low as it did. Clearly, they were overly punished for their missteps. And now, the stock is trading at some 10 times cash flow. There are not a lot of businesses that can grow double-digit top line with 40+% margins that have that kind of a discount to the market. So I think that's starting to be rectified, at least a little bit after hours here.
Dan, how do you think about total addressable market? In the release, it says in 2021, they estimate that a quarter of all buyers in the U.S. reached out to Zillow, but they only generated revenue from 3% of those people. Do we think about it as closing that gap, as touching all of the quarter of all U.S. home buyers?
Rich doesn't aim small, Melissa. So I think that's probably what they want you to buy into. They're talking about 5% buy-side share. They're talking about 3% total transaction share. And look, this has always been a game of numbers with them, right? They have massive audience. They've had uniques that have been larger than the entire housing market by a long stretch. And the concept here is just about engagement. How can they engage with those users? How can they get monetization conversion of those users? And so, they've talked for a long time about accessing even the seller side of the market, Melissa. I think that's the interesting thing here is them exiting the iBuyer market actually gives them access perhaps more aggressively to go after the seller side, because it was perceived by the agents that they were competing directly with the iBuyer side. So, if they can unlock that, and they can unlock kind of that audience engagement and monetization, which is something they've talked about for years, I think that's got to be the path, right?